Good day, everyone. I hope you're having an amazing day. So today I will be talking about Schema Builder, which is a very handy feature in Salesforce. Schema Builder lets you see an object, it's along with its fields and its relationship with other objects. So it's very handy when you wanted to look at the required field on an object. For instance, let's say you have an object and that object has mandatory fields. So it's often very hard to, by going to an object fields and object manager, and to figure out which fields are mandatory. So the best way and an easier way, in a better graphical user interface way, you can do view these options is by going to Schema Builder, which is a very handy feature, as I mentioned. Okay, so I've logged into my org, right? So this is a free developer org, and the way you can go to Schema Builder, so by going to Object Manager, so click here, and you will see a button there on the right hand side next to Create. It's called Schema Builder. So if you click here, it will take you to this nice, pretty looking canvas, and there you are. I mean, now it's like a playground. You can have a look at different objects. Let's take an example. I would like to look at an account object and its fields, right? So I go here under objects, right? And I can search on accounts, right? So now you must be wondering, what did just happened, right? Where is account? It's a good question. So here you are. I clicked here, and account is here. Sometimes it just way off the screen, so you can manage it by using here, right? Okay, so there you are. You can see an account object. So I just wanted to minimize. So okay, right, now you can see it better, right? Or probably I will maximize a bit, right? Okay, so this is an account object. As you can see, that all these things, in the red, kind of it's a mandatory field. So let's go here. So if I double click on account, sorry. So these I can highlight the fields here, and I can look at the field and the data type. Like this is a text, 40 character, and this is currency, and yeah, and so. And if I wanted to create a new field, I can do that as well. So I can go to object. Let's say I would like to create a checkbox here, and I just drag and drop here. It will give me that option. So whatever field name, you can put test. For simplicity, test 1 to 3. You should always give meaningful name to your fields. So this is for description. For demonstration purpose, I'm giving a test field, right? So the way you want your default value to be, whether you want it unchecked or checked, is up to you. So I will keep it as unchecked, and there you are, the field saved. Now let's look at it. Where is the field saved? Here you are. You have a checkbox that's created now. So this is one way you can. This feature is very handy, and then you can see on the right hand side you have some legend options, like if it's a lookup relationship, as a mass data relationship, and required field. As I can told you that these red are supposed to be an asterisk, right? But instead they decide to go with this line, vertical line. So okay, that's the Salesforce choice. But yeah, it lets you figure out from this object interface which fields are mandatory, right? And you can create a field here instead of going to old-fashioned way. You can, mind you, by going to Object Manager, going to an account, creating a field is still the preferred way because you have more options there. Let's say going here, and if I go to, you can create it from here. That schema builder is an option, is a way where you can see information about an object and fields all at one place, right? And the mandatory field required. This kind of information is very useful in integration because I'll give you a very simple scenario. Let's say you are integrating with the payroll system, right? So any payroll system in the world, right? I don't want it to name anything. So let's say XYZ payroll system, and you are integrating a Salesforce with the payroll system, but the requirement is to push the employee information to your Salesforce org, right? Now, your Salesforce org might have custom objects for it. Let's say you have an employee object created here, right? And you have decided, and when that object is created, right, you might have made certain fields mandatory, like employee name, employee designation, the level code, date of joining, probably there's certain qualification sections and or whatnot. Let's say you have made all of this section mandatory, right? Now, when you are integrating with the third-party system, right, you have to let them know, or solution architect of a vendor, that look, these are the fields which we are expecting on our end. If your APIs don't support it, then we have to find a way to populate it, because otherwise you can't save the information in Salesforce, right? So this is the one way you can do that, or the other way. If you are more comfortable in a report format, right? If you wanted to view this information in a report, nice Excel report, you can do that as well. So the way we do here in Salesforce is by creating a report. So now there's a problem here, slight problem. So it's not really a problem, but we don't have the out of box feature as such to go to reports and, let me show you what I meant by that. Just bear with me for a second. So, the reports, right? We have a report tab here. So you go to report here. I don't want it to cover reports in detail, but I just wanted to give you a basic understanding about the way we can do things in Salesforce with respect to objects and fields, right? We can actually access the metadata. Metadata means the data about the data, right? So the fields and structures and layout information. In simple term, we can get the field name, the data type of an object, right? So if I go to new report, right, so you might have an option to select a normal report. Let's say I have report. You can select the normal report, but I don't want this one. I wanted to access the metadata of an object, right? So there is no such thing as such out of box, but you can customize it using a report type. But report type is a very, very handy feature. So the way you do here, so go back to your setup, right? Go to report and go to report types, and you can have different nested layer. For now, ignore it. Just go to continue and go to new custom report type. And primary object, select entity definitions. Let's say report entity definition. And storing category, we'll choose other reports, right? And click on next. Okay, so this is a report entity definition, right? Okay, sounds good. Okay, let's go next. Now, click to relate other object, right? So here we will select field definitions, right? And we'll click on save. That's all you have to do. So we have created a report type with an entity definition, right? Now let's go to Salesforce report again. Go to report, let it refresh. What's the name I've given? Report entity definition. So hopefully I'll find it here. Report. And okay, here you go. We can find it here. Click on continue. So as you can see, you won't find anything here. So let's go to field section. Let's go to labels. I want the field label. Sorry, field labels. So I double click on it. Right. So you go to, and you have the master label. Right. And let's look for an option where we want data type. Data type. Right. And let's look at what's the other option we want, length. And another option, if you wanted to see whether the field is mandatory, so there is something called is field annullable, right? Okay, so, and let's go to filters and current date. I just make it to all, right? And so let's say I want it to be grouped this by a label, group row by this field. For now, don't worry about the reports. I'm not explaining about the report. What I wanted to show you here is that you can generate object information along with this field into an Excel document, or you can view that in form of report if you're not comfortable using Schema Builder. So this is one of the options you can do. So let's say I would like to look at, let's say I wanted to add one more filter. So, right. So we have seen this one. Okay. So what are the other fields we have? I would like this to be moved here. And, okay. And add a filter. So let's say label, master label, right, equals to, I have created one object. Let's see what objects I've created here. Some random custom object I've created the other day. So let's see. Okay, the property management. Oh, great. The spelling mistake. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I digress. So equals to, or I can probably say, yeah, equals to will be fine. Let's see if I get anything here. Right, we got this information here. So let me rearrange this one. And let me add, is the field indexed? And you can add a lot of stuff here, you know. So it just, you're accessing the metadata entity definition. So so one more, let me see if I can use any of the useful information here. Queryable, durable ID, label, last modified. Okay, that, I think that's pretty much, that's good for now. And I can move, sorry, let me arrange this bad boy a bit. Okay, just move it here, right? Okay, so now I will run it and I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, so now you see I have a report of a property management, and what is property, sorry, don't worry about the spelling mistake, my apologies for that. So I have this object called property management, and I have this label. Label means the field name, address, and you can sort it here. And if it's nullable, right? So basically, it means that, or if this, when this field is unticked, it means this is a mandatory field. And if it's ticked, that it doesn't mean that it's a mandatory field. You can ignore it, right? So that's how you can tell. If you're using an Apex code, you can use to check this field, right? To see that if this is not ticked, then that field is obviously mandatory. So you can use this option as a way to see your report, because some people like in a report format. So this is a nice and easy way, right? And you can obviously export it if you wanted to export it. You can export it to Excel format. So if you export it to Excel format, let's see how it looks like in Excel format, right? So let's open it. So if it's Okay, just unless you want it to open, yeah, I will just open it anyways, right? Right, so this is how it looks like. See, the nice and easy, right? And it's very easy, useful for integration to give it to your vendor, or if you don't want it to share with the vendor, that's fine. So you can always compare which fields are mandatory, which fields are non-mandatory, and the length, because length is very important at times. Because imagine that you have a text field that's defined as a 100 character long, and if you're receiving something 200, so it will obviously won't work very well, right? So you have it actually it's very useful feature, and it's very useful in integration. I find this very useful because I do a lot of integration with third-party vendors. So all right, so that's all I wanted to cover, guys. So I hope you find this course, find this today's session useful. I will cover more and more about integration when I reach to the integration stage, because we haven't covered enough yet on Salesforce, because I wanted to cover the basics first before we dive into the deep detail. I promise I'll cover the detail nitty-gritty aspects of Salesforce, like Apex, the batch queries, and the bulk KPIs and different kind of stuff I'll cover. And yeah, I mean, and lightning components and how to create one. Visual Force, yeah, we might cover that as well. And integration, outbound, inbound integration, that's all stuff. Don't want it to overwhelm you guys, so I will cover that slowly. Yeah. All right, guys, that's all I wanted to cover. So thank you very much for your time today. So I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.